Welcome to the Artist Advisory Hotline, the podcast for artists who want valuable guidance and honest answers on how to grow their careers and develop their new project from leading art world experts and artists. Here's your host and founder of the Artist Advisory, Marina Granger. Tune in as she gets you the answers you deserve.
Hello, artists. I'm your host, Marina Granger, and I am so thrilled to be here with you today and tell you that the doors to the Artist Academy have opened for enrollment. We are already having our very first students enroll, and it is just such a joy to work with you guys. It's so cool. And of course, one of our very first students is the 3-day training grand prize winner, and that is Natalia. So congratulations to you. You've been notified, and I cannot wait to work with you. I also received such a special note from Natalia about how it's pretty much kismet that she won, because she also comes from a Soviet country as an immigrant and has a lot of scarcity mindset, and how she cannot wait to work on releasing that scarcity mindset and getting into a mindset that really works for her. So if you've been following me, of course, you know that I just did last week a free 3-day training on how to get into galleries that don't accept submissions. You can still catch the replay by July 21st at 9 p.m. So by July 21st at 9 p.m., you'll still be able to access those 3 trainings, and they have been amazing. We've had some really incredible breakthroughs. One artist just emailed me today and said that over the weekend, she walked into a gallery and imagined, she got into the vibe, imagined herself showing there. And then as she was walking out, she met the owner, who happened to be a childhood friend of hers. And now they're talking about having a show for her in the gallery, which is so wild and out of the blue. And yes, that artist, congratulations, has enrolled in the Artist Academy. I can't wait to work with you guys. So if you have been vibing with me last week, imagine what could happen if we vibe together for like the next 4 months. That would be so insane. Like, what could happen? I wanted to drop in and share like a re-air of an episode where graduates of the Artist Academy shared their takeaways and talk about what it's like to work with me. And so, sometimes you hear something from another person and you get kind of like a better understanding, right? People's messages they resonate differently from different people. So that is why I wanted to air this episode, because maybe you could also learn from some of their takeaways. Now, here's the thing. This particular iteration of the Artist Academy is upgraded. It's slightly different. And like I said in my training, if I was teaching the same thing now for 5 years, I would probably go insane. So I have updated this to also include manifesting and mindset work. These are huge. The tagline this time around is master your mindset, get into good galleries, and manifest your dreams. Because it's really for those artists who are done trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, and they want to finally shift the paradigm. You know that you want to do this thing, so you might as well do it now, right? Let's just do it now. Don't stand in your own way, because the world is your oyster. And I love oysters. So I don't know. I just had to say that. I'm like a little tidbit about me. So no matter how big your goal is, I will help you break it down for you so that it's manageable and organized and really simple to follow through, that it doesn't feel too overwhelming. And that is definitely the Virgo rising in me, where I'm like, I'm gonna totally break it down for you so you can do your thing. And not only do we learn like practical business stuff in the Artist Academy, like how to speak and write about your work and curate your online presence so that people get you, and how to identify and target the galleries that are ideal for you, how to manage sales and build relationships with amplifiers like collectors, curators, and gallerists in the press. And remember, amplifiers are people or institutions that have an audience that would love to see your work, right? That's why a gallery is kind of the ultimate amplifier, but so is the press. So are the collectors that buy from the gallery. So are the artists also that make a lot of money for those galleries because they're always selling there, right? And those galleries will listen to those amplifiers. And also, like how to ace applications for opportunities, that's also included. And all the practical business stuff, you get also a website template for Squarespace 7.1 or 7.0, depending on where you are, what you want to do, if that means anything to you. But the idea there is that you have options, and that will really do all the pragmatic stuff for you. But we also involve a lot of mindset work because sometimes you know exactly what you have to do, but there's just something in the way. Something in the way. Yes, like that old Nirvana song. um, and you may know that I have worked in like the New York City art world since 2004, was a gallery director for a long time. And that's all wonderful. But I'm also really into energy work. I am a Reiki master. I'm certified in classical Chinese feng shui. I studied medical mediumship, for example. I am really into astrology, human design, and ultimately manifesting. I've studied manifesting extensively and have manifested an incredible life for myself. And if you're listening and you're thinking, oh my gosh, so like manifesting is like waving a wand and it just happens. No, manifesting is literally rewiring your subconscious mind. And we did some of that in our 3-day training. If you were watching the replay on video or if you joined us live, we did something called EFT tapping, which really starts to reprogram our minds. And so this way you really start to get out of your own way because you change that uh, program that's running in your head, so you start to make all of these decisions that are going to align with the artist that you want to become. See, the thing is, we make over 35,000 decisions a day. And don't you want to make decisions that serve you? Right? So this program is going to help you do that because with every single module, there is an EFT tapping. I'm going to drop in a subliminal for you the here and there, meaning I will give you an audio to listen to that is a subliminal, and you will start to rewire your mind that way as well. But that's not with every module. That's only going to be like once or twice. Every module, though, has EFT tapping in it. And I wanted to, let's see, I'm going to tell you what they are. So there's going to be one to identify limiting beliefs and release them, right? There's going to be a EFT tapping to stay true and authentic to your message. One to release the fear of being seen. One to release overthinking. Another to open up to the right opportunities. Another for making meaningful connections. Another for selling work. Another for trusting your decisions. And I will also teach you how to create your own scripts, right? And you'll have these tappings that you could repeat for a while. All the course material is going to be available to you for at least 2 years. And I say 2 years because I want to make sure that I all the material is up to date, but also that you actually do the thing, that you go through it. I actually have artists who have done this program that are redoing it as they reach the next level in their career. And that's really, really exciting. So the way that it works, you're going to have a module drop every 2 weeks. So our first module drops on August 1st, and then we're going to have a live Q&A roughly 2 weeks later. And maybe a little bit earlier for our first module because it's not going to be that intense and I just want to get started. And I will send out a meeting time survey after enrollment closes to ensure that we're meeting at a time that works for most people. If you cannot meet us during the live Q&As, you could always watch the replay, or you can even send in a question for the live Q&A and I'll answer it during the Q&A. So that is one of the cool things about the Artist Academy. Another really incredible thing about this program, and you're going to hear it from the students who are going to tell you what their experience was like in the live version of this program, is they get to meet a gallerist 2 times, right? So there's 2 different gallerists, or maybe it'll be a curator that you get to meet at the end of the program, introduce your work to them, and they get to know you. You start to make a connection. It's really amazing. So, besides all of that, right now I'm also offering an early enrollment price and a lot of bonuses, including an Instagram and website audit, which is like my favorite thing to do. And I'm also going to be dropping Instagram prompts for everyone via email twice. You're going to get 2 prompts per week so that at least you can stay consistent for 2 times a week. And as you start to flex that muscle, as many of you did in the 3-day training, which was incredible because in the training, so many artists started to post once a day. And it was easy because I said, hey, post this. And they didn't feel like they were overthinking. You could just get it done, right? So that momentum, I want to continue with you. And there's something so special about that momentum that once you're excited, once you're into it, you want to keep going because it takes a lot of energy to get into that vibe of excitement. So, anyway, so that's the thing. And so if you are called to join, I do encourage you to take advantage of the early enrollment offer now and grab the bonuses. And just know that this is going to be an intimate program. There's limited spots. So you might as well sign up now before all the spots are taken. And as far as price goes, it's pretty much like a mega university level course. So it's priced that way. And with the early enrollment offer, there's a considerable discount on which you can do payment plans that are available through Afterpay or Klarna. So there's no crazy, like painful only bonuses. You're all painful for me, right? So you just get to decide how you choose to do that. And when it comes to investing in your career, I don't want to push you, but I want to just whatever that means for you, whatever investing in your career means for you, whether it's to take this course or to buy a fancy candle, if you know, you know. I'm like, now you know why there's like diptyque candles in all of my photos. It's because, well, there's a story. It's in the training. I don't want to repeat it. But here's the thing. Whatever it means for you to invest in your career, it's so important to do that because when you don't invest in your career, that's you perpetuating the starving artist myth. So stop perpetuating that myth, whether that means getting like the $15 salad for lunch instead of the $7 sandwich, right? Get what you really want. And it will just be more possible for you to keep getting what you want. So that is my 2 cents, or, why limit to two? That's my many cents on investing in your career. So I would love to work with you guys if you're into it, if you're called to do so. And without further ado, I want to give you this interview with the artists who have already completed the program. Ken Forbes's solo show is opening up on November 17th at 190 Bowery at the place where he had his residency, which is the Germania building. And it's kind of a really cool, like, no sign situation, but it's really good. So just, you know, show up if you can. If you're in New York, give him some love because he truly deserves it. We've got Yvette Molina, who has had literally a museum show. She's been in the art world for 20 years. So she's a bastion of wisdom, if that's even a colloquialism. I don't know. English is my second language. Did you know that? I actually came to the US when I was 7 years old from Kiev, Ukraine. So I grew up speaking Russian at home. And so, because I grew up under the Soviet Union. So by the time we came here, I didn't have a chance to learn Ukrainian. We only learned Russian uh, before we went to school. So Russian was the first language in Kiev generally. So anyway, so I speak Russian at home, and so I might say some funky things like my husband likes to make fun of me because I like to say things like, I'm ready for you have questions for me, I'm ready for the thunder round, meaning not the lightning round. Anyway, so that's just something you should know about me. But anyway, so we've got Ken Forbes, we've got Yvette Molina, who's had an amazing career so far, but this program really moved mountains for her. And she's now in talks with a gallery to do a solo show based on, it's actually a gallerist who I have previously invited to speak to the Artist Academy and to meet everyone. When I do the Artist Academy, we do meet once every 2 weeks in a live group session. For the first 8 times we meet, we have a set curriculum. And then for the last 2 times that we meet, I invite special guests who are either curators or gallerists to meet the artists, because by that time, the artists that I've worked with are very clear on how to communicate about their work. Their presentation is ironed out. And on top of that, they have all of this knowledge of the right questions to ask and all of these things. So it's really wonderful, and great opportunities have happened to artists who have worked with me. I've been getting uh, in the habit of saying visual artists because I only work with visual artists. And I guess performance artists, right? But that kind of falls under that umbrella. I do not work with all sorts of artists. However, Ken, who you will hear from today, is a poly artist. So you'll learn a little bit more about him. I also have Erin O'Neill, who's based in Chicago. And Erin is an amazing artist who learned so much from working with me, especially has been very good at wisely uh, making the right sales. So you'll hear a little bit from her about that. And then separately, I interview Ellen Burgeon, who just finished the Artist Academy. She was in the same group as Yvette, and she learned so much about how to communicate about her work. So she'll tell you a little bit about that. So without further ado, here we go. Let's dive into our very first interview with Ken, Yvette, and Erin. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me, Yvette, Erin, and Kenny. I'm so happy to see you here today, and I'm so grateful that you're going to be able to tell our listeners a little bit of what it's like to work with me, what you've learned from working with me, and also share a little bit about yourselves. So I just wanted to see who wants to go first and say, where they're from and what kind of art they make. Kenny? Yeah.
Surely. Either
Great.
way. So, hello. Thanks again for having me. I'm Ken Forbes, aka Art Boy, and I'm a poly artist. So, I use different mediums like painting, music, acting, writing, technology in order to create interactive and immersive experiences. Um, we all learn different ways. We all receive things different ways, be it visual learners or audio. So the more different ways I can hit you, you know, hopefully the more ways you might be able to receive the message. For me, the message is we're all human. And so let's stop being such bad people to each other and be better versions of ourselves.
That sounds like a message I can resonate with. I love that. And Kenny, would you tell us where you're located as well for
Yep,
our
I'm
listeners?
in Brooklyn, New York, ladies and gentlemen.
Woohoo! And I wanted to ask, just say to our listeners, congratulations to you on you're finishing up a residency and you're opening up a solo show in New York, right?
Yep, that is correct. That is correct.
That's so cool. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got the residency and what that's about?
Sure. Um, it was a really serendipitous journey. I have a residency now at 190 Bowery, so it's the famous Germania building in New York City. Supreme is the ground floor. We're the rest of the building. Pretty sweet.
Mhm.
I got it because I had a solo show in Brooklyn, and as I was picking up some of my paintings afterwards, met somebody, started talking. He was developing this app called AHA, Artists Helping Artists. Started throwing some ideas off each other, kept in contact, and he kept inviting me to different opportunities, such as the New York Art League, where we have speed painting battles. Another opportunity with Kraus House, wherein we created the world's first physical NFT basketball court.
Wow.
Yep. And then I got a call in July, him saying, "Hey, do you want to do some live painting over at 190 Bowery?" I said yes. I asked when I could pick up my stuff, and he said, "Don't." And that's when the residency began.
Wow, Kenny, that's amazing. Congrats. Um, and I think, was that the solo show that you did right after you finished our group program?
That is correct. So I had that show back in August, and then now I have another solo show at 190 Bowery, November 17th.
Wow. Wow. Congratulations. Yay. All right. And Erin or Yvette, do you want to say hi and tell us where you're located and what kind of work you do? Erin? Yeah.
We'll just move across the continental US. So now I'm in Chicago, Illinois. I am an artist. I do painting and drawing of portraits of the inner child as a way of exploring confronting generational trauma. And yeah, my daughter is a big muse. I paint her a lot. And yeah, that's what I do.
I love that. And I think it's so wonderful that you've articulated this about your work, particularly because this is something that we've worked on together, right?
Yeah.
We first started working together, it was now over a year ago, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
And you did enroll in my group program, and we just literally today finished working in a one-to-one program together.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious to hear how I was able to help you articulate this about your work. And also if you could tell our listeners, a big takeaway on how they could do something like that for themselves. Like, where were you before as to now when it comes to talking about your work, and how'd you get there?
I would say I was kind of on, when I did the Artist Academy, I felt like going through the steps of everything that you kind of laid out in that program really helped me set on a journey of understanding what my art was about, what it was I was trying to accomplish as an artist. And then as we started working together one-on-one, a lot of it became more focused on my own personal mindset about my work and about my practice, and what it actually meant and why I felt it was significant. And those are difficult questions to grapple with, I think, for anyone. Nobody likes writing an artist statement. Nobody likes thinking about like they're making and why.
Hey, listen,
But
if you like writing an artist statement, send me a DM because
yeah,
I'm curious to know who does.
yeah. So that helping me kind of, I would say you were really good at just making me answer hard questions and not leading me to an answer and letting me come to my own conclusions about my work. And as we were working together, I began to sort of have, as we were talking about work and looking at work, and we went to the spring break together, art show, art fair, and everything. And through that process, just things started to click. And I began to realize, why it is I was making the images I was making and why I was drawn to the kind of work I was drawn to. And by understanding that, I now understand what it is I'm trying to accomplish, which was so much more of a gray area, which is, I think, why I was having a difficult time making concrete progressive steps in my career. So, yeah.
I can't wait to hear what kind of concrete progressive steps you want to share with us. But I also want to know if there's someone out there who's listening who also doesn't, maybe they haven't worked with me yet, or they can't, or whatever, but they are also grappling with these issues that you were grappling with. What's one thing you can tell them on how they can navigate it themselves, and what kinds of hard questions to ask themselves and be gentle with themselves in their answering?
Oh gosh, it's a lot of questions. I would say, I would say that you just have to start. A lot of what I think I was struggling with was that I was very kind of isolated. I wasn't in a community of people. I wasn't in a lot of situations where I was having conversations about my work. So it was just all in my head, right? And so I had no wherewithal to understand if that was resonating or working or not. And the more I spent time around other artists and engaging with other artists and talking with other artists, the more natural it became to identify themes and things that I was saying over and over again, and things I was coming back to in terms of what I was interested in. That I would say was a big part of it.
And I see Yvette and Kenny are nodding their heads. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And we resonate with that. Yeah. Was that, and I just want to quickly jump to Yvette and see if she can tell us a little bit about herself. But also, before you do, Yvette, would you tell us a little bit about, resonating with that, about talking about your work with the community that you had in the Artist Academy? Was it easier for you to kind of hone in on your intention because you heard other people's intentions when we went through the elevator pitches, or like when we talked about when everybody spoke about their work? And I just want to say, when in the Artist Academy, what I do is I teach you how to present your work verbally, right? How to talk about your work in a way that's a little bit more captivating than just, I'm a contemporary abstract painter, right? Because we really hone in on why you do what you do, right? And if you are listening to this, you already heard Erin and Kenny tell us why they do what they do. Which I'm sure resonated with you in some way. So now you really remember what they do. But I guess, Yvette, I'm maybe putting you on the spot a little bit. So let me back up a little. I guess, I have been asking the hard questions. So let me ask you this. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and why you do what you do, and what do you do?
Thank you, Marina. I it is funny that we moved from the East Coast to the middle of the country, and now I have recently moved from Brooklyn to Oakland, California, and so I'm based in California now. And I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I kind of let whatever project, whatever idea is moving me at the moment, I let that lead. And so like you, Kenny, I work in a lot of different mediums and everything from performance and ritual to I work with textiles and fiber, ceramics, painting. I'm really interested in old techniques, really traditional techniques and organic mediums. So I paint in egg tempera, which is literally like egg yolk and pigments, raw pigments. Mm-hmm. So that is of interest to me, to kind of find older traditions working with contemporary themes. And probably the overarching theme that connects all of my work is this idea of how and what we care for, and not just other humans, but you know, the plant life, the animal life, the water, the earth, everything. So I definitely believe we're all connected, and that as artists, we're all in this together to kind of create the future we want to live into. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really interested in myth making and storytelling. Yeah, so that's a little bit about my work and my practice. And Marina, working with you has been, the way it has been most valuable for me personally. I have been doing this a really long time, and I've had various chapters to my art.
Tell us how long you've been doing it, just for our listeners who might be out there thinking, well, I don't know if I can work with Marina. I've been doing this for a really long time.
I mean, well, that was a question for me. You know, before knowing you, I had this idea that I've been doing this. I've been showing in galleries and since 2000, and so for 22 years, and I felt that my experience, like I know what to do. Why should I pay someone to teach me things that I probably already know? And so I really had a question about whether I should be taking this class. And the truth is, all of us need support at different times. Actually, ideally, all the time. You know, right? So I see you, Kenny, nodding your head. I mean, it's so true that having reminders of things we already know, or just support on new ideas, because we can't ever know everything. Like you know, there's always different interesting ways to approach any problem. So it's been invaluable for me at a time where I had just moved cross country and was kind of feeling at loose ends and living out of boxes and trying to find my grounding, to have your support and to have the support of a community and to have reminders on things that I knew but wasn't in a place to focus fully on. And so it helped give me structure and reconnect to my practice in a new way, and to make goals and targeted, you know, to accomplish things in a structured way.
Love that. That is so awesome. Thank you for saying that, Yvette. That is so cool. And I'm so honored that you trusted me to guide you, even though you've been in it for so long. You've been in it for officially 4 years longer than I have. And I wanted to ask you if you could share with our listeners what your experience was like working in the Artist Academy with me. What came of it?
Well, you know, I think what's interesting is I had set several loose goals for myself before working with you, which was part of why I signed up, is I didn't feel I had the energy to accomplish these goals. And very quickly, the list of things I wanted to accomplish with my website, the never nailing down my elevator pitch, seeking out the type of gallery representation I wanted, being interested in selling work again, which I had not made a priority for a really long time. All of those things came to pass. My website is updated and new. I have a shop in it, which I'd wanted to do for years, to sell small objects and items,
Which I couldn't resist. I got one of your very cool candles, which is the mother destroyer of all obstacles, right? Is that what it's called? I'm like, is that what
Mother destroyer of obstacles.
Yes.
Need that.
Need that candle. Everyone listening,
Yes.
just go to Yvette's website and get that candle. It works. But anyway, so you've gotten your website down. You've got the shop up that you wanted to have up forever, which is like a big question of what do you put on your website so that you can both attract galleries and not deter them, but also have that occasional PayPal reminder or whatever that says you sold something in your sleep, right? So, and what else happened? Keep going.
I worked on my elevator pitch, which is embarrassing to say after 22 years. It was something I had blocked. It was like, I can't encapsulate what I do in 2 minutes. It's impossible. And I'm someone who's very much about the human time, like I want to be on human time. And if that means that I lose a professional relationship because they don't have time to, like get to know me, then for me, that's always been okay. But it actually isn't okay. It's good to have your quick pitch. And that was finally achieved.
Yay.
Okay. And I am in conversation. You have visiting curators and gallerists come to your class.
Yeah.
And by chance, one of my goals was to work with a woman. Like the next gallery that I would work with would be a woman-owned gallery. And one of the gallerists, both of the gallerists you had come to our class were women, and one of them was very interested in my work, and we're discussing a solo show in the Lower East Side for next year.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
So a lot has come out of this. A lot
Okay.
of really productive, juicy.
I just got to say, it worked out so much because not only it's not written in stone yet, but I'm going to tell you, it's because you had the formula down, and the formula was you presented your work honestly and accurately online so that it was easy to understand what it looks like, what it is, what size it is. You were clear with your message. Your elevator pitch was nailed down to a T. Okay. And on top of that, you had your intention, right? You had your intention of what you wanted, which is so important. One of the things we do in the Artist Academy is we set goals. And, I wanted to see if there was anything, did any of you guys set a goal that you didn't even know was possible? Like, Yvette mentioned, I didn't even know I could put down, condense or actually articulate concisely what my work is about over the course of 20 plus years into 2 minutes. And she did.
For myself, something that you had said and preached and taught was how there are a million different ways to get paid as an artist. It doesn't have to be, I make a big scale painting, put it in a famous gallery or the MoMA, look at that, I'm rich or I'm not.
Yeah.
everything out there, every product and service has advertisements and needs some kind of artwork for it, right? And so now I have a couple of corporate sponsorships that I'm working with, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, and provides provides a living through the type
Yeah.
of art that I like to do.
Yeah.
And so it seemed impossible at the beginning, but you showed the roadmap, and opened our eyes and minds on how it's possible.
Yeah, that's so beautiful to hear. And, for those of you listening out there, it's so important to understand that getting to your goal, right, of whatever it is, first of all, there's so many different ways to get there. I always have this kind of, well, it's timely because Halloween's coming up, but I always say it's like the center of your goal is like the center of a cobweb. There are so many different ways to get there, you know. Erin, you wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, I was to say, contrastedly to Yvette, I didn't have a big long career when I started working with you. And in fact, I'd gone to art school and graduated. And I think because I just hit a few roadblocks and was trying to just kind of wing it out of art school without a lot of foundational understanding of what was required of me, in a business sense, I wrote myself off as like, well, I'm not capable. Like, I'm not able, I don't have what it takes to like run an art business, even though I make really nice things and I think my art is good. I'm not a business person. And I think when I started working with you, I started realizing, you know, that's bullshit. That's not true. I don't know if we can cuss. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll put a little rating next to the podcast episode.
Yes.
So any artists under 18 need parental, guidance or whatever advice. I don't know.
but it essentially wasn't true. I had set myself into a narrative that was false and wasn't allowing me any progress. And so prior to working with you, the only people who had bought work from me were family and friends. And I love my family and friends. And if they're listening, I very much appreciate the support. However, I really wanted to start reaching a larger audience. I really wanted to start connecting with people, that valued what I was doing, at what it took to create it. And so after the Artist Academy, I got a studio. That was one of my goals. And I got a studio opportunity, moved into that. I had my first huge painting sale and got a collector that I love and have a wonderful relationship with. And I've started to get other inquiries, and I'm having people come to me now that are seeing me and know my work, not because they know my family or my husband or a coworker, but because they just saw my work and it resonated. So that's happening in real time right now. And what I realized was, through working with you, between things like an elevator pitch, between things like talking about what my work is about, between learning why is that important to the here and now of today, why is that significant, I was able to approach those conversations ready to have them. If I had been approached by these people years ago, I wouldn't have been ready to even talk about that. There's no way I could have made those sales or made those relationships or connections, because I didn't know what my message was and I didn't necessarily believe that I had one. So that was huge. And the opportunities that have come through, I'm starting to get invited to shows, not just applying and getting accepted, but I'm being invited to show with people.
Yeah, that is huge, Erin. That is so huge. Congratulations. Yeah, everyone's smiling for you and clapping. I mean, this is so important. And, one thing I have to share with our listeners is something that, if you could tell us a little bit about the one thing you learned? You said to me, hey, I don't want to do commissions anymore. I definitely, like, this is off my, I can't, but I want to, but I need the money, like, not need really, you wanted the money, right? But so tell
I
us.
still want to make a living.
Yeah. More than just a living.
Yes.
Than just a living. That's the key.
Yeah.
You can make more than just a living as
Yes.
an artist. Guess what?
Yes.
But what's that thing you learned about commissions?
I was in control of what I offered, and I could set the parameters. And I think you started to ask me questions about, okay, but what if we said that you wouldn't do commissions unless A, B, C? And I was like, oh, well then, yeah. And then you were like, and what if people were paying X amount for those commissions? I was like, well, oh yeah. I mean, if that's what I'm getting paid, sure, I'll do it. And then it kind of clicked, right? That like, oh, I wasn't offering what I wanted to offer anyway. It wasn't, the problem wasn't commissions. The problem was I had locked myself into believing there was only one way to provide that. And once I set that in place, I got a dream commission with someone, and I'm so pleased with the piece. And it's something that I can have as part of my portfolio that aligns with what the rest of my body of work is and what kind of messages I want to be outputting, not just like, oh, I'm just, painting a portrait that you can hang on your wall and it's a nice gift. And those are lovely, but I only have so much time in my studio and I want to be making work I'm energized about. And so
I love that. Do you guys feel, this is a yes or no question, and I'm really hoping you say yes. But you have the power to say whatever you want, because this question is, do you feel more empowered from learning what you've learned in the Artist Academy?
100%.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of like Glinda the Good Witch, and it's like at the end of, I felt like we concluded our time together, and it was like, you've always had the power within you, my dear. It really was like that. I felt like I was in the Wizard of Oz. Like I'm in this kooky world.
Oh my gosh, you bet.
And that really was it. It's like I'm not walking away. I mean, I would love to continue to meet every week and talk about stuff, but I'm not walking away fearful that I can't do it without you. I really think you helped me recognize, here's what's in your toolkit that you have that's really valuable. Yeah. And here's what you can expand on. And that's huge.
Thank you so much for that analogy. I was laughing because Yvette nearly fell off her chair because she was laughing, because you know what? It's true.
Halloween costume right there.
I love that so much, because and you know what, I'm going to rebrand my entire business now as you are the Dorothy and I am Glenda the Good Witch, and I'm going to show you that you had the power all along. So I have here, so you had one last comment you mentioned in our chat, which I don't know if you want to tell us, but I also have one last question for you all. Do you want to tell us, Yvette?
I just want to, when you had said, did you achieve your goals? You had mentioned that earlier. And I think one of the things that is really powerful about your class is that you have a workbook before each class of questions that you recommend we fill out. And I often ignore those things because I don't have time, or I put them aside, but I committed before taking this class that I was going to do everything you told me to do. And I really do believe that, I mean, like anything in life, what you put in is what you get out. And so filling out those worksheets and really taking them seriously, like I spent a long time really thinking about my answers and putting in the time. And it was invaluable. It was so helpful for me just to create space to think about those questions for myself.
Yeah.
So again, it was a Glinda the Good Witch moment where it's like, I have it in me. That you helped me create the space to make time for my own, practice and goals and thoughts. So that was my comment.
You guys.
And to second onto the workbook thing, I did Artist Academy in 2020, and
Yeah.
I still go back to those workbooks when I'm feeling kind of, stumped or stalled in an area, whether it's like how to talk to galleries, how to do your elevator pitch, how, all the different sections that you cover. When I go into those workbooks and the answers change with time. So it's never like you fill the workbook out and it's like, that's the set answer forever. No, I go in and I refill them out, and it brings so much clarity. There's invaluable. Like Yvette said, it's like, it helps pull that out of yourself.
So grateful. And this whole time, by the way, Kenny is just nodding along to everything that Yvette and Erin are saying. And you're, sorry, Kenny, go ahead.
Oh, that's just a total agreement. It's the same way, if you go to the doctor and you're overweight, the doctor says, okay, I need you to work out. I need you to eat this, not eat this. Come back in 3 months after our program. If you're still not in shape and the doctor says, did you do what I told you to do? And you say no, well, not really the doctor's fault. Yeah. So you got to put in the work, and you will see all the fruits of your labor, with what you put together.
Yeah.
And it's not always comfortable, but
Never.
It's not always comfortable, but
I'm here for you, making it as comfortable as possible. And I have one last question for you guys. For anyone who's listening, who's really interested in the program, they're on the fence about joining, what would you tell them? What if maybe you were on the fence before? I know Yvette was on the fence because she was like, well, I've been in this for 20 something years. I know everything, which, yes, you do, but you do know everything about now that you've taken my class. No, but you knew everything before. But it's always good to have a different perspective, right? And I come with a very unique perspective in the sense that I've been working in the New York City art world for nearly 15 years before I started this company, which is now almost 5 years old. So I've been in it for a while. But anyway, what would you say to these people?
I think I told you this before, but you offered like a free workshop, like a masterclass through Instagram. And I was like, okay, I'll take this masterclass. I'll see how it goes. And I think in my mind, I was like, okay, if there's at least 2 things that she offers that I feel I couldn't have found just by Googling around online on my own, then I'm going to pay attention. And I don't remember the specific things. It was about website stuff, but you brought up 3 things. I was like, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. And that's not really something that you can put in like a web formula, a formula that you post online. Right. And just talking to you, I was like, I feel good about this, right? Like you have to go with your gut. And I just had a good gut feeling after I started talking to you. I was like, I really do feel like she has my best interest at heart. That it matters to her that I succeed, not just that I'm like paying for her program, but she's truly invested in what it is I'm trying to do. And that was different. I mean, there's so many people out there who are doing programs, not unlike what you're doing, but all of them had been so like, here's the bullet points. These are the things you have to do. And it just felt like such a broad brushstroke. And I really felt like you were paying attention to what it is I needed. And, and I think that speaks to the diversity of artists that are in your group, how the range of work that people are doing and the range of stages they are at their career.
Yeah.
So
that's the big thing, right? You were all in a group with so many different types of artists, so many levels of how long you guys have been at it, but you still all found it very, very helpful. And I think a big part of that is Erin is so right. I care about you guys more than anything. And it's because I've worked with really great people in the art world before, but I've also worked with some not so great people. And it breaks my heart to see talented artists get the runaround. So I would never do that. And one of the most amazing experiences I've had was I walked into a gallery when I was like 18 years old in college, and there was an art dealer who was Ivan Karp, who has been Leo Castelli's next door neighbor. I mean, he's been at it since 1970 or something like that. He's like big, he was a big deal, and he's passed away since, but he owned this amazing gallery, and this artist came up to him off the street, which I do not recommend, by the way, if you're listening, showed him his portfolio and said, "Hey, I'd like to show here." And Ivan Karp took his glasses off. He took 2 seconds to tell this artist exactly why he couldn't show his work, and told him to come back when it was a little bit different if he wanted to show there. And I thought that that was the most important thing. Yeah. I have here that Yvette has to go really soon, but we have an update from Yvette. You want to tell us?
Marina is not only an amazing artist,
Advisor.
advisor, handholder, cheerleader, magic witch. She has some sixth sense, and I really think you are a good witch, because she helped me visualize the return of my lost kitty, who just walked in after being gone for 18 hours. So,
Literally in this call.
literally on this call. So I feel like I'm indebted to you in many more ways than in heart ways and art ways. And I have to run because I have another call, but thank you so much, Marina. I definitely recommend your to any artist who feels like they're at a point where having the support of not only just artist community to set goals, but your advice is invaluable. So yes, I can't recommend you enough. And it was such a pleasure to meet the other 2 of you virtually, and maybe someday in person, and much like luck, and not luck, just continuation of your already amazing hard work, because yeah, we've all got it in us. So bye.
I'm so happy
Likewise.
to see Care Bears back. Bye, Yvette.
Bye.
And I wanted to ask you guys, so yes, if somebody's on the fence, Erin, you had your answer. Kenny, what would you say to them?
I'd say, really, why not? Going back to Yvette's story of she's seasoned, maybe you want to do it or you don't, or you think you can do it on your own. The best vocalists in the world have voice coaches, right? Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Celine Dion, still to this day have vocal coaches. So don't tell me you got it all figured out, right? And yeah, I know I didn't, but Marina helped me get there. And again, like, what do you really have to lose if this could potentially change your art career? Great. What could it hurt? So make the call and do it.
I love that. So for those of you listening, if Beyonce can have a coach, so can you.
I love that.
Go out there, be your best Beyonce, folks.
Kenny, that is literally a mic drop moment. Thank you. No pun intended. Oh my God. I'm full. I'm literally full of dad jokes. I've done this nonstop. So I apologize for those of you listening and like face planting. But anyway, thank you so much, you guys. It has been such a pleasure to see you grow. And I can't wait to see your show, Kenny. I can't wait to see what next beautiful thing you all dream up. So thank you. Hello, Ellen. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy to see you. How are you doing?
Hi, Marina. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am so happy to see you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited for this episode. And I am also pinching myself because after we finished our last group session, I realized I had done now 10 rounds of the Artist Academy. And, and it was just like, wow, it's done. And I kind of, I was like, well, what do I do now? So I decided to kind of commemorate it by having artists like you who've worked with me on my podcast to tell people what it's like and what you've learned.
Yes, well, I love that. I feel like we need to clink clink a little champagne toast to your
Clink.
final, or not
And
your final, but the closure of your
of the first 10 rounds.
I mean, that's incredible. Yeah, you should
Yeah.
just take a minute and that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't even begin to let it all digest. But it's so symbolic that you're here with me, and you're actually the first interview that I'm recording, and you are part of the most recent graduating class. So I wanted to ask you, Ellen, first of all, could you tell our listeners a little bit about you, where you're from, and what kind of work you make?
Yes. So I'm Ellen Bergen. I live and work in San Francisco, California, but I'm originally from a really small town in the South. Um, in my work, I'm interested in reevaluating stories that we've been told about femininity and womanhood. And growing up in the South, I grew up with a very rigid framework of femininity that prized agreeability in all aspects of my life, and left me feeling very silenced and unsure of myself. And in my work, I challenge and examine those prescribed notions and create paintings that are, my favorite is really large, expressive explorations of my voice.
Yeah, I love that. And I can't get over the first kind of painting that I saw and was taken aback by, which is Bombshell, right? And so tell us a little bit about that one. Just the title of the painting, I think, is very important. But for all of you listeners, if you want to go to ellenbergen.com, you can find this painting, or find her on Instagram as well. But Ellen, tell us a little bit about that painting.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of my entries into my work start with me thinking about language. And I don't know how, I guess I was just thinking about the words we use to describe women, and bombshell came to my mind. And I just thought that was the weirdest word because it's kind of like language of war. And I was like, where did that come from? And so I sit in my studio and Google, the word, and pull up all these really interesting images and these old drawings of bombs, like different bombs, like Russian bombs, German bombs, British bombs, American bombs. And I was like, well, that's just so strange. I wanted to kind of explore it, and in a large format. So the painting is actually, like almost 5 feet by 5 feet on acrylic on paper. And that, in a nutshell, is kind of like how I find my way into a lot of my work. It's through research, and I'll just have these ideas, and yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought it was so interesting that, when you told me about this, and we all associate bombshell with like a sexy woman or a sexy person. And when you really think about it, the word bombshell comes from war, which is
Right.
really, really interesting. And then I said to you, I was like, hey, Ellen, isn't it funny how women, when they're so attractive, they're considered threatening? And that's where the word bombshell really, that's how it all culminates. And what's interesting when I look at your work is that there is something really, really powerful and visceral about it. But yet it's kind of like, it's got this really heavy message, but it looks so happy and colorful.
This is what I love why I love talking with you and working with you so much, because you get it so quickly and you're able to reframe it almost for me and speak back to me like what I'm thinking. And I just think that's a really unique quality. I honestly haven't met someone like that before, and maybe it comes from your art history background and your work in the gallery. But yeah, now I got sidetracked off the question, but like it's just really interesting to have these kind of conversations and to know someone who gets it. And you're right, the painting is really pretty and it's pink and it's colorful and it's kind of like me. I straddle a line, but we all straddle lines between, who we are on the outside versus who we are on the inside. And but yeah, you just get it really quickly. It's amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Ellen. I'm paying attention. I just tell you that. But also, thank you so much. And it's so helpful to hear that I was able to help you reframe your work and kind of put it into a nice package, right? So that this message, and I've seen your more recent Instagram posts, how has this repackaging, this reframing affected the way that you communicate about your work?
I can't tell you how powerful the things that I learned from you, and it almost is like it increased my self-confidence in a way that I'm just so grateful to have found through you, because it completely shifted the way that I think and talk about my work. And I don't like to, put myself out there really, but through your help and my work and more deeply understanding how to communicate has given me a lot of confidence. I've always had a lot of confidence in my work, deep belief in my work, but I've never had any confidence in myself. And the whole like Instagram thing and the reels, I couldn't have, I'm not exaggerating. I would not have done it without your class, period. I would not have done it. So I'm very grateful for that experience.
Oh, Ellen, I'm literally gonna cry. Thank you.
It's so true. It's so
Thank
true.
you. If you could tell the people listening, what are some of the biggest takeaways from the things that you have learned through working with me in the Artist Academy?
The biggest, there's so many, it's hard to put them all down. I really did try to take advantage of all you gave us so much information that I think will keep giving me, as I go back and rewatch and re-listen and think more about what I want to post. So I think, other than what we've just talked about, like the fact that I just found a renewed confidence and a framework for speaking about my work, that I took away was my relationship with Instagram. Facebook is still a mystery. I'm going to leave that to the side. But, I think your own presence on Instagram has inspired me in a way, watching what you do and learning what you do, and then thinking about what is authentically me and what I want to present is a big shift for me. And that I have embraced that is just amazing. And also the fact that I had technical support to help through some of the things, help literally like figure out, well, this is how you delete a reel draft. A draft of a reel that you don't like, so there are so many takeaways. But I think that has been a really big one for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to say it's so I'm so happy to hear that you are now finding Instagram to be a little bit more fun, probably more easy to use, and that the one-to-one tech support has helped you so much. It's something that I thought, even myself, I'm not an Instagram uh well, I'm not an internet native, right? Like when I was a teenager is when I got my first computer. So while I'm still like good with computers, there's so many of us who are not native to computers, and there are just these little things that could be so helpful if somebody just sat down and showed us. And what you're saying is so true. The first time I actually started to post a reel, which was probably a year after they even rolled out that feature, it took me forever to post it. And I was good at computers. So I thought it can't hurt to have one-to-one tech tutoring available to the artists that are enrolled in this program. And I'm so grateful to hear that it worked for you. The other thing that's really interesting to me is that you put this importance on Instagram. Why is that? Why is Instagram important to you?
Okay, so I love this question. Instagram for me, this is for me, has really expanded my community. And those are not just words. Like I use Instagram to connect with other artists, to follow galleries that I think are interesting. And I take advantage of those things. And, I have met some of my favorite local artists through Instagram, and we've gotten together and swapped studio visits. And that's just, I think, a really incredible thing. We're all in our studios with our head downs, and then to have this powerful visual network that we can use at our fingertips is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I really put importance on your online presence in this program because I think that that's the number one way that we connect today, right? It's the way that we make these connections, and what we do after we make them is also really crucial. So I wanted to ask you this as kind of a final question for you. Um, why did what made you decide to take the leap and do the Artist Academy? Why, was there anything holding you back? What was your thought process for anyone who's out there, who's listening, who's thinking, well, I don't know, like seems like a good idea, but I don't know. What would you tell them?
So that's a good question too. I remember I was in my studio and thinking about like community and what I wanted to do next. And I had a lot of goals in my mind. And I don't know, but I think your information or a story came through on my Instagram, and you had been offering kind of a get to know me session. And I signed up for that. And then I loved it, and I thought it was great. And I got I reached out to an artist who had taken your course, and she couldn't say enough good things. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to throw caution to the wind. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did.
Oh, I am so glad. Yeah, that's right. I taught a free master class. I don't really remember the topic. I think it was something like how to use the internet to make connections or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think it was. And,
Huh.
and it was an investment in myself. And it was worth every penny for me, really.
Oh, Ellen, I am so honored and like so delighted to hear that. Thank you so much. So for anyone who's like on the fence, what would you tell them?
Oh, do it. I mean, why not? I mean, and honestly, from my experience in the class, it's hard to know, well, because it's hard to know, we're all at different stages in our careers, right? So for me, I was like, well, who's going to be in the class? Are they going to be like professional artists? Are they going to be very beginners? But what I found was it was a very wide range of people in the class. And I think it meets everybody where they are at their level, which is amazing. you can take what you need from it, and so I think I would not hesitate, to make the leap.
Yes, thank you so much, Ellen. It has been such a pleasure to work with you, and I look forward to, seeing you on the internet and keeping in touch. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I love talking with you. Anytime. We'll chat anytime. I'm available.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Support your community by sharing this podcast, leaving a review, and follow The Artist Advisory on Instagram at @the_artist_advisory, and visit us online at www.theartistadvisory.com.